Hey guys, this is GamerCow playing Touhou, the Genius of Sephiroth Weekend Edition, and last time we grinded our way through the enemies of the Palace of the Earth Spirits and managed to get ourselves killed by that damn bird, but we got our revenge on that damn bird and got ourselves the Galaxy Ring, so heck yeah, good times. So, we are going to be, of course, facing Satori. You kind of have to expect we're going to be fighting the character, blah blah blah. So the party I'm setting up here is a very sort of familiar one, except Reimu is not present this time. And Reimu is perfectly fine for this fight, and she's actually pretty good against one of the phases in particular here, but I've kind of decided to just go without her in favour of just raw damage dealing here. We're going to be wrecking Satori in hopefully 6 or 7 turns, somewhere around about there. The target is 6 turns, we'll see if that actually pulls off. So, quick rundown of the characters that we have here. I have taken the ghost cattail from dear friend Saki over here, just given her the Galaxy Ring. It won't really make too much of a difference, but it's just nice to have. But the paralysis resistance is needed on Alice instead, because if Alice gets paralyzed and she can't protect the back row, and then the back row might get nuked by an attack and it would just not be fun. So Alice kind of needs that paralysis resistance. I've also given her the magic defense just so that she has a little bit of resistance to stuff that way, and otherwise pretty much the same stuff as usual there. Sanai has the petrification resistance, which may not actually play in, but in one of my 3 tests against this boss it actually did matter, so I have it there anyway. Otherwise, we're pretty much running the same general stuff here. Obviously, Marissa now has her magic booster for Mystic Enhance, which is very good. Skills-wise, I never actually showed off another murder, I just realised that. We probably won't be using it, but it's a generic physical attack that only takes 2 MP, but does have basic physical and can reduce physical defense. I'm pretty sure Satori is too resistant against this kind of stuff for it to matter, but just know that it's there anyway. It's kind of nice. And we do have Colosseum World because there is one use for it in this fight that we hopefully don't see, but we might see it anyway, because this fight can go a few different ways, to be completely honest. For Marissa, I'm actually focusing more on the sparks this time. We haven't actually seen either of these yet, but hopefully we'll get to see both of them in this fight, because even though they have a large enough cooldown, the growth tree stuff will explain this in a little while. And for Sanai, the major difference here is that I've gotten rid of the party cure, because I don't see me needing that too much in this fight, and I have both cure permanent and variety. The Satori can do both, so I want to have cures against both here, because resistance alone is not enough in this fight. Finally, Patchouli has Active Elemental and Philosopher's Stone as her last 2 things. The Philosopher's Stone is really not necessary, I just figured there's no better time to show it, so I may as well show it now, you know. And Active Elemental, I haven't used it so far in my practice fights, but the idea is fairly solid for this fight, so I don't have a better thing to put here. I'm not putting the spellcard element because reasons, so yeah. And then for Alice, Alice is pretty much the same stuff as before. The key thing here that I want to stress is to have a Doll's Fanlax as well on your thing if you plan on using Colosseum World, because you don't want to lock yourself out of healing for too long, and Fanlax will overwrite Colosseum World when you're done with it, so yeah. Other than that, growth tree stuff, we have a very low amount of two-handed sword here, and the reason being that enemy slash resistance doesn't actually lower the enemy's resistance to it if it's already neutral. So Sakuya would do the same amount of damage with the slash resistance -2, whichever way round it is. Also, Satori doesn't have a shield, so there's no shield to ignore. Satori's a single entity, so there's no need for ultimate division, and I don't have enough spare points to put into physical attack plus 90 that I want to give up, because I want the HP plus 15% here. Just a little bit of extra survivability. It's actually more for the MP here than the HP, but I just want these stats as well. Otherwise I would go for the physical attack 90 and this fight would probably go a bit quicker. But instead, well, I have an extra 10 attack here, and I get a bit more damage out of my illusion signs, and I have more chance of getting high hits. So you know what? It's a sort of trade-off. You could go either way, but for me, I'm just gonna stick with the illusion tree here, because we'll mostly be using Jack the Ludibile in this fight, so yeah. For Marissa, you can see I've actually got 3 points in the power tree here. Now this tree is exclusively for Master Sparks, and the cooldowns, the very, very high cooldowns on the Master Sparks do get cut pretty significantly with this tree. And I think, yeah, they don't get cut by anything else, but they do get cut a lot by this tree, which is nice. So we have 2 less turns to wait for Master Sparks 5-turn cooldown, so it's now a 3-turn cooldown. And the cost of the attacks is down a little bit, which is always good. And their damage is up a bit as well. The cast speed never makes a difference. Master Spark is kind of like Private Square in that it basically always goes last. But yeah, it's there anyway. So yeah, we have some extra stuff with that, pretty good. Other than that, just going for the extra speed, which honestly I could put here, but there's no need because I'm not using Love Sign spells now. There is a difference between Love Sign and Master Spark. The game does create a difference between the 2 types of laser. So Love Sign stuff like the non-directional laser for the moment, will get other ones later. They don't get affected by the power tree, and likewise. However, the there isn't actually anything in here which would affect the Master Sparks except for the magic attack gains thing, because everything else is non-card damage. So yeah. Although I suppose the Mystic Element MP cost counts as well. That's not the point. Anyway, Sanae basically had 2 extra growth points, so I put them into the Miracle Tree so that I could get faster recovery speed. Kinda useful. Probably not necessary actually, because she probably already goes first, but whatever. For Patchouli, one of the important ones to have, I feel, is 3 points in the Spirit Magic Tree, because of the highest land power reduction thing. That can actually play into this fight. Otherwise, spellcasting speed up is always nice. I guess I probably should have noted this from Marissa as well. You don't really need the physical MP conversion thing. I think I noted this during the last fight too, but you really don't need the conversion stuff. So just a 1 extra point to get extra MP and magic attack is really all that I need for that. And it's convenient that I have the points to sort of spare for this anyway, so there you go. And then Alice, absolutely everything into manipulation, because it gives her just enough power to get the shield skill cooldown, so now, unlike the previous fight, she can cast Marionette every single turn, which is really good. Means her shield will always be active, pretty much, except for the very few turns that I use other skills. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So let's just go ahead and take on Satori, who is apparently taking on her own trial here in the form of paperwork. Expenses again. How do you have expenses? I suppose you are running a mansion, right? Go coefficient. I have no idea what that's supposed to be, but apparently her pets are causing some financial issues here. We're coming in, Satori. Uh-oh. I like the roses that she has in here though, it's a nice touch. And Satori's like, what are you doing here? Good lord, how did you get down here? Yes, so... What are they doing? Well, they kinda got beaten. This may be sudden, but you're coming with us. What? That's... You could have been a bit more tactful about it, Raymir. It's too abrupt. Yeah, just a little bit. But of course, it is a Satori, you know, it is Satori who is a Satori, so she doesn't actually... Oh yeah, Sanae won't have actually come across Satori yet, because Reimu and Marissa were the ones who came down for the incident. So Sanae hasn't actually seen this power in effect, right? Yes, that is true. And Sanae's like, no, what? It's true. How did you know? Well, yeah, that's kind of what Satori is. That's why we're coming down here in the first place, Sanae. So yes, the rumors are indeed true. That's not exactly going to happen, I'm afraid. But why? Yes, so Satori has her own stuff that she needs to do, and she doesn't really want to join in here. Can do your work anytime. Not exactly. Well, yes, she can, but you can't hide anything of your thoughts from a Satori. So yeah, she knows why she's being taken, and she does not want to get taken. Exactly. This is what we kind of been thinking at the time. Please calm down. Yeah, nobody is safe from Satori. That's kind of it. This is bad. She started the whole mind reading bit. Oh dear. Yep, here we go. Now everybody's gonna get pissed at everybody else. Yep. And of course, Alice has to get in on this as well. Oh, they do play the tsundere role so much in this game, like, I wasn't thinking that. Of course, Patchy can't get away with it either. Of course. Round 2, Alice versus Patchouli once again. So yeah, she has all manner of things that everybody can get pissed off at, and yeah, that's just kind of it. But Satori's mind trick is kind of annoying, and she's going to kind of find out the consequences of this here. Yeah, a little bit. It's one thing to read the hearts of everyone, it's another thing to publicize it. And that's kind of where Satori falls flat here. Also, apparently Patchouli fell flat there. I don't know quite what happened there. But anyway, yes, Satori should have kept her mouth shut, and she probably would have been fine here. Although Reimu would have just gone, "You're coming with us anyway." So whatever. We have a fight against Satori. So the first thing we are going to do here is we are going to Horidol so that Alice takes the brunt of the attacks as per usual. And we'll throw out a resistance buff turn 1 because Satori can cast party-wide debuffs, so bear that in mind. And we'll just start with Summer Flame so that we can get some damage on the board. Looking at Marissa's MP count, how much does this take? 38. So I think we can get away with using Napalm here, which would be the strongest attack that Marissa has, so we'll do that. A nice, decent chunk of damage. And Energy Hand is a mystic physical attack, so yeah, Alice is taking a bit of a pounding there, but it's okay because now she has Marionette, so she'll be able to use her shield every turn now, and that will make this significantly easier to run through. So with this taking so few, such a low amount of MP, I'm just going to use Kilodol here. I am going to be buffing magic attack first, however, so there is that, and I may as well just use Philosopher's Stone now, and we'll Master Spark this turn as well. So the back row gets defended, Alice will be defended at the same time, so she shouldn't die here. And Philosopher's Stone looks reasonably pretty, doesn't really do too much, but I guess it's enough damage here. And 3 out of 4 attacks there is pretty nice. The accuracy down is really annoying. This is why I have... that's a lot of damage there too. Satori has about 3000 HP, so we're already just about halfway done. Accuracy debuff on Sakuya is really annoying, so even though it will cancel my resistance and magic attack buffs, I need to dispel that right now, because otherwise she's just going to miss every turn, and that would be no fun. So, yeah. As you see, Final Spark is on the same 3-turn cooldown here, but it's okay because by the time we're done with everything here, it might not even get to cast, which would be a bit of a shame, but it's basically going to be my ace in the hole in case this fight goes wrong. And now we have a mode change. So, Satori has 4 different modes depending on which element she chooses. It's random. This is actually the 4th different mode out of the 4 that I've had as my first one, and essentially what this does, she gets 100 land regen per turn. It slightly increases the land bias towards that element, so the fact that I've been using fire is kind of counterintuitive at this point, and she gets fire-based skills for just now. She's now immune to fire, but a little bit weak to water, and as a result of that, I'm going to... You know, I may as well use the active elemental to raise the water land here, first and foremost. And we shall just go ahead and napalm as well. I have enough HP to do that. So a buff physical attack, and get a decent amount of damage off of that napalm. And Heat Hand really didn't do too much there, so that's good. And every second turn after she switches her land mode, she will use a magic attack of that land type. So in this case she's going to use a really strong fire attack, but this is why we have Natori in the party, because Hyper Camouflage will just give us a complete nullification for the turn on that particular thing, which is really nice. I'm just going to use Doll's Fan Lance this turn because I don't think I'm in too much of a worry here. In fact, Satori's probably dead this turn. I would be slightly surprised if she doesn't just die this turn. I don't have Final Spark, so unfortunately we aren't going to get to see that, but it's fine. So, there is a blind... Oh wow, she actually blinded through everything else. That's really kind of rough. Whatever, she's probably dead this turn right now. Yep, there we go. Okay, so to explain the other attacks that she can do Thunderclap if she is in her lightning phase, which is a very strong multi-target attack that can inflict shock on all of your party. So definitely block that if you can. It's also very fast, so it tends to go first in turn. If she's in the Earth formation, then she'll do Petro Cloud, which is a party-wide petrification move. Petrification being you're basically out of the fight. You can't move, you can't defend, you can still be targeted, but if everybody's petrified and or KO'd, then the fight is over. And if she's in water form is where it's most dangerous, she uses Elixir, which is a full restore for herself. She will heal all of her HP, and it gets really annoying if she doesn't, she dies, doesn't die before that, but that's where Sakuya's Coliseum World would come in, because that can go ahead of the Elixir, and she won't be able to heal any HP. So if she's in water formation, make sure Coliseum World goes active. If she's in Earth formation, then even Camouflage, as I found out, doesn't actually block it. So if you have Rainbow in the party, make sure that you block permanent status when she, with her Evil Sealing Circle, when she does concentrate, and otherwise she's really not too hard to fight. She mode changes, I think, the second turn after. It's either the turn after or the second turn after she uses a spell card, she mode changes again, and that's pretty much all she does. So yeah, not too difficult, especially not with the firepower that we have here right now. So yeah, you can wipe her out in just a few turns. Natori does get a Fire Chaser, which is nice, and that is basically it. So Ha, that completes the punishment. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, you kind of deserved it. Like, I'm normally one to, if you will, root for the underdog, but you kind of deserved that beatdown. Well, we beat you, so that's how it works, right? The loser serves the winner. It is a bit unreasonable, I will admit, but especially when it's 5-on-1, but Reimu gives the death glare of Bloomer history, I guess, I don't know. So yeah, she's basically, yeah, she has to come, she doesn't have a choice in the matter. That said, Satori is basically not so excited like Sanae, but she is just about the best character in this game, if you work at her. And that sounds a bit weird and probably sounded dirty, but oh well, that's your minds in the gun and not mine. So, I was rather accusatory, I apologise. So, now we have to go ahead and reach Yuyuko. And yeah, Yuyuko is kind of the next target, I guess, because we don't have anyone else to look for. So, we'll just force it out a bit. Yeah, thinking is indeed too annoying, because it's Reimu. Yeah, you'll learn soon enough, Satori, that you don't want to piss off Reimu in this game. So yeah, we now have Satori and her formation. Unfortunately ill-translated hypnotic barrier, I believe it is there. So let's just quickly check that out. Oh no, it's hypnotic bullet. It didn't really look like bullet there, but whatever. It's an induction-based formation, so all of those status effect things will be upgraded with this Master Spark-esque formation. I think all it does is induction, but induction can be pretty good. If you have a heavy status party, or yeah, basically any form of status, then this could be pretty good. So don't discount it, it is not a bad formation. It can serve a purpose if you are using like mass paralysis and stuff like that, so do not forget about it. So, with that said, let's discuss Satori a little bit, because Satori is a rather unique character in this game. She is, in Final Fantasy terms, she is a blue mage, as you would, I guess, kind of expect from her character. So, basically, Satori can have some of her own skills, and she uses a variety of things. I guess we'll have a look at her growth tree stuff first. She's level 15, that's cool. So, she has trauma infliction, which is permanent status stuff. She has variety status stuff, which is nice. So she can inflict a lot of things. We did see blindness and accuracy down and other such things in the fight. So there's that. She has a lot of MP stuff, like a lot of MP stuff. This is actually a really good tree to invest in. But it won't be the first tree that you invest in, unfortunately. But definitely max out this when you can, because Third Eye is super, super good. You can see she can use knives, spears, and staff weapons, so that's kind of good. Her own weapon is a slash-type staff, which will also allow you to use shields. So that's good. It can let you do some extra magic stuff. It's a physical slash weapon, I guess, as well, and you can still use a shield, unlike the other mage characters, so that's really good. So this is usually what you want to be using, is her Third Eye. And the other gimmick towards Satori is learning. So there are about 126, I think, total skills in the game, between main game and post game, that Satori can learn if they are cast on her. Now this is where it's good to be playing Weekend, because in the original game the skill learning was horrendous. It's still not perfect, but it was absolutely horrid to try and learn skills in the original game. because essentially every skill that you can learn has a percentage chance for learning, and it can only be learned the first time that it's cast on you in a fight. So in the original game, the rarest attacks, the hardest ones to get, were a 1% chance in terms of learning, and the highest rate skills were still only 10%. Now, as you can see, the learning success rate goes up dramatically when you increase this tree, so it actually gets up to 3 times the original amount. So that means even with maxed out learning, unless it was a defensive skill that you had to coax the enemy into using against you, your maximum learn rate for any given skill was 30% at most. Most skills were no more than a 5% chance to learn, and those 1% skills, yeah, only a 3% chance to learn them. Not exactly good. So, Weekend fixed that. Like with the item drops now being several times more likely to prog, skills in this game now have a minimum of 10% as their learn rate. So the rarer ones, like the breath attacks and trying to think what else, some of the spell cards later on, they have a 10% chance to acquire. Whereas skills can now, I think, have up to 20 or maybe even 30% chance to get. There are some skills that do have that sort of rate, so you're much more likely to learn them, and that makes Satori significantly easier to acquire skills for. Very powerful. So basically, yeah, Satori has a lot of use, but like me, maybe, the first time you play this game you may not see that use, because she's very fragile, she doesn't generally do a lot of damage with most of her attacks. Like, she can learn a ton of moves, but she doesn't generally deal a lot of damage with those moves, unless you support her significantly. But she does have one good use even at this stage, and that goes to some of her skills. So she only has the 3 at the moment, but she does learn her own skill set, and we'll be having Satori as the commander for the next area, so we'll be able to show you some of those skills. But yeah, she can inflict party-wide status, which in this case is sleep, silence, and lowering of physical defense. She can lower other stats, like she lowered accuracy in the fight, that is something she can do. Paralysis comes in, Great Confusion comes in, lots of good stuff. So definitely do not discount Satori's basic stuff. The one we'll use most would be Poison, and we'll see just how powerful that gets as she goes along. But yeah, that is Satori in a nutshell. Just to quickly show off Satori's commander skills, she gives everybody 5% more resistance, which is not really too powerful, to be honest. Really, Satori's not the greatest commander, because her one bomb skill only has a 1 in 3 chance of working. Granted, when it does work, it's like perfect dodge, but yeah, you basically just get to ignore the enemy's attack, which is nice. And enemy techniques, I've never seen it being useful. For 3 bombs to use one of the enemy's skills at random, you don't even get to choose what it is, that could just do 0 damage. So, or it could just absolutely fail. For 3 bombs, it's way too much. But the commander spot is where you safely level your party, so that's what we're going to do, is to level Satori in the commander spot next time. So, with that said, the remaining thing to do is to go to Akio and, yeah, Satori is a strong Satori who Satori says Satori to do some Satori stuff. Yes, that is pretty much what we have. So now we have the tier 2 stuff, so Bombs Go Hey, Heretic Broom, Seven Fangs, so obviously Reimu, Marisa, Sanai, Aya, And this is something we really need, Sakuya's weapon here. Lots of heretic stuff here. Patchouli, then we have Notori's weapon, we have a very nice weapon from Alice, if I remember rightly. It's either this one or the next one that's really, really good. And we have a Satori weapon too, which is good. We actually have 2 Satori weapons because we are at tier 2 now, so the Green Eyes is another good one. We should probably make that at some point. And then I think this is the shield which I would upgrade Alice with, the Platinum Shield. Dark Row, trying to remember, that is Marissa's armor, then Patchouli's armor, and then some generic armor for midweights at this point. I'm pretty sure it's the mid-tier ones. I think the heavy tier ones are someone else. But we can quickly go take a look and make sure of that. It might be the heavyweight ones. I guess it would sort of make sense, being breastplates and stuff. So, let's see, we got, well, we start off with the Gohei here. Bombs +2, pretty nice. 30 Exorcism, again, we'll explain that later. But you see, now it needs a Celestial Peach, which is not something we have had access to yet. But that is something we will be exploring in the next part, hopefully. So there is that. The Heretic Broom gives you 10% more casting speed. It doesn't give you the extra bomb, which is kind of why the first broom is nice, but I won't be making this regardless because I want to save the mushroom for later on. I might actually make Marissa's armor instead. We'll see what I have available for that, but yeah. Serpent Fang, pretty good against paralysis and poison, and it actually can poison itself, which is quite nice. It's a pretty good weapon if you want to make a Sanai weapon, and it is a little bit stronger than the Cherry Blossom at this point, so it's a decent replacement. Might go with that. If you're still using Aya, then her specific weapon gives her decent multi-strike abilities, so you might be able to hit twice in a turn. She's still not going to do too much damage, but you know, it's there. And then the Great Maid. This is a fantastic weapon for just now. I really want to find another silver tray. I think there's another one in the next stage, and this weapon is just ridiculously good for the next stage. You become immune to light and dark. You have a Slayer against foreign gods, which are traditionally the most difficult enemies to fight in this game. And of course there's more attack power than the Claymore. A little bit less accuracy though, so you do have to bear that in mind, but it is very, very good for this next area. And then we have the Dictionary of Heretics, so some magic exorcism, some more light and dark enhancement. The MP plus 10% is actually pretty good. If you're gonna make a patchouli weapon, you would probably make this, because this gives you more MP so you can cast more stuff. You could then use a shield so you'd be able to block against some physical attacks, so you might be able to give Patchouli some actual survivability at that point. And a tiny bit of magic exorcism, I think it might help, because I think there's an enemy in the next area that would affect. I'll look it up, and if it happens that way then we'll explore it next episode. And then we have, of course, Notori's weapon, which has a Slayer still against Warrior Magician. I think the previous one did as well. It did indeed. And this time it has multi-strike instead of the Slayer strength up. So that's pretty good. It's a bit inaccurate, but it's still very strong, so you could go for that, no problem. Yeah, it's the next one that I'm thinking of for Alice that's really good. This one's still not too bad though. Being able to daze the opponent upon attack and giving you 10% extra HP, that's a lot of HP for Alice. She does get to the point where she actually caps out on HP eventually, so that's a lot. To get 10% extra, that would probably be an extra 9 or even 10 HP right now. Which, yeah, that's quite significant, so you could get that, no problem. And then Satori's weapons. Satori's weapons generally have a resistance to and additional damage to an element. Note the difference in terminology from the Staff of Purgatory here. This says fire added damage, not fire elements enhance. so, or fire enhance. So this will increase physical fire damage as well as magic fire damage. Pretty sure it should increase magic fire too. And of course you get a resistance to fire as well. And Satori's weapons have a whole bunch of stuff. She has magic attack and induction on her weapons as well, so that's good. I think all of her weapons have an accuracy of 100, so there is that. And this is a weapon which I really want to get if I'm going to use Satori in the main game just now. So, poison damage plus 25%, that's big. That's really big. We'll definitely be using that when I can get hold of it. And it's gonna kick a lot of butts. All the butts. The butts will be kicked by poison, because, yeah. Satori is gonna be really good. Don't think otherwise. So, Platinum Shield. Yes, this is definitely something I'm going to make. It only takes one pretty mirror to make this, so it's fantastic for just now. This would have replaced the Damascus Shield, was the one I was looking for from the plants in the vampire plants in the Forest of Magic. It's essentially a weaker version of this. It's a heavy shield that can block everything but doesn't block the magic attacks as often. But this shield basically is going to be a much stronger version of the Lorex wristwatch that we've been using so far. So much more physical defense, much more magic defense, a higher chance to activate just in case it you know, you're using Alice and not marionetting for the turn. So, great item to have. And then, real quick, we do have, they are midweight tiers, so I was correct. We have Marissa's armor here, almost perfect against silence, and gives you an extra bomb. Once again, it does take a Celestial Peach, because that is where we are and stuff just now. Likewise, Patchouli's armor. So Patchouli's armor gives magic reflect. So 10% of the time you will actually hit the opponent with the magic attack that Patchouli gets hit by, instead of them hitting you. So that's not bad, to be honest. It's a pretty powerful effect against certain, you know, attack types. And the extra bomb is nice as well. And then these breastplates, the mid-tier, unlike the low-tier ones, the mid-tier ones will also increase the damage that stuff does. Well, I guess it's the same here, but it increases the defense even further against its element. So, yeah, the higher the armor tier, the stronger the resistance is, generally speaking. So 50% resistance to fire, it's actually not a bad thing to consider, because we are, I mean, it's 45 defense. 45 defense is actually quite comparable to the equipment, say, that we have here. It's actually way better than the defense that we have so far. So it's not necessarily a bad idea. If you're using a lot of mid-tier characters, it is not necessarily a bad idea to craft one of these, because that 45 defense is pretty good, and if you can make use of the extra damage here, say if you're using Notori, then you could easily use the fire damage, the extra there, and of course negate one of her natural weaknesses. So yeah, these are actually not terrible armors to make. Definitely a good consideration. So yeah, and I think that was it. Yeah, we didn't get any more things here, so that is that. So this has been Gamer Cow playing Touhou, the Genius of Sapphirus, and next time we go ahead and take on the Netherworld. Take care, guys.